is such a fine line, because usually where we start, we have, let's call it ignorance A. I am the body-mind, unquestioned until grace or great suffering wears down this belief structure. But for the vast majority, ignorance A is a fact, not a question. I am this body, I am this mind. My experience depends solely on the experience of my body and my mind. I am the subject of experience. There is the world that is full of objects that have the power to make me suffer or to make me happy. In other words, my happiness, my consciousness is limited and bound to the experience of my body and my mind. We could call that ignorance A, the default state of most characters in the movie. That leads to so much suffering, usually, eventually, that there is an interest in spirituality or directly in non-duality. And then the first books come in, and the first YouTubes these days come in, and there is this promise of enlightenment or eternal happiness through this one big event. Or directly, in the new modern version of non-duality, we either hopefully get an authentic glimpse, we truly find understanding, experiential understanding, that it's actually not true, that I am, for a split second at least, I discover for myself, that's our path of satsang, I discover truly for myself that I'm not bound to and limited by my body and my mind. Hopefully, we get an authentic glimpse, true understanding, or unfortunately also often, or maybe more often, we just learn the words. Either way, authentic glimpse or we learn the words, both can lead, and we have to see that clearly in our own experience. Even an authentic glimpse and an authentic understanding of ourselves as we know somehow doesn't set us completely free, because the habit of this ignorance A kicks back in and we start to think and feel on behalf of a separate self again. What we have to make sure, though, is that we don't fall for ignorance B, let's call it, which is either the after translation of that authentic glimpse, maybe a powerful experience even, the clown coming back in, kicking back in, and capturing this experience, this understanding, and getting convinced that the translation, or now I understand, or I am truly not my body, or I experienced it, or maybe I had an out-of-body experience, or I just know deeply, yes, I am this beingness. And then the clown kind of whispers every day, it's like, oh, I am not my body, I am pure consciousness, I am loving awareness, my nature is Buddha nature, la la la, I'm impermanent. Ti, 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 ti. And then we build up this ignorance B. And before, in ignorance A, there was no doubt. We known for sure I am a body mind. There was no crack. No one got out the little hammer and we were thinking. That's what it really is. We know who we are. Then we have hopefully this glimpse of authentic understanding. And for a little moment, we don't know anymore who we are. We just are, we could say. The one who knows has disappeared for a little moment, what appears in time, while it just sank into the timeless. And upon return, so to speak, the clown comes in, and now I know, now I am, if it's authentic, okay, now I had the experience, I'm awake, I know, I am, and this moment of authentic self-knowledge, jnana, that to then the still existing character appears as a not knowing always, because as we know, I always say that the mind cannot cross that bridge. In the past, I used that analogy or metaphor, because the mind will never know self-knowledge. It has no access to self-knowledge, to true self-knowledge. So for the mind, and this is this whole embodiment, ongoing unlearning, to accept that the true knowing, the self-knowledge, is more of a not knowing in the experience of the avatar, a constant not knowing, and not falling for that ignorance B trap of knowing again. And it can be very authentic, the glimpse, or can be even very deeply rooted. And we saw that in the world of history of gurus, etc. There's for quite a long time, so to speak, in this routening, establishing in this not knowing, there's for quite a while, or maybe forever, this danger of becoming the knower, the avatar becoming the knower, and not consciousness knowing itself, which is this not knowing. So while we're jingling here kind of in our satsangs over and over to find that middle way between ignorance A and ignorance B, depending also who's coming to the satsang. And to always kind of find that middle way of not knowing, which is very humiliating. This is the humiliation of the ego, of the separate self. It's kind of painful at times. To come to this final bow and like, okay, I don't know nothing, says the mind, and bows to the heart of awareness. And there, kind of in between ignorance A and ignorance B, that both claim to know, we are.